All right, welcome back to the Tap Takeover Podcast video series, and we are here at 1840 Brewing with Kyle, the brewer, the man himself, owner of this place, and we're here to drink a very special beer. As you can see, it doesn't even have a label. It is so new. So Kyle, tell us about this new beer.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. This is a smaller format bottle than we're going to sell. This is just, we do this because this is a big, hefty beer, and every time I had to test it along the months, I didn't want to have to open a 750. So the beer is going to come out in 750, but it's called Bier de Vin. And this is actually the beer that is taking me the longest to make of anything that we've made so far. We're releasing it when you guys watch this. It'll be this weekend. And this beer was brewed in May of last year. So it's going to be 11 months for me to produce this product. It is an Imperial English Porter that was fermented in freshly dumped Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. And by fresh, I mean about 6 days from the winery. Then we fermented it with a red wine yeast and a Brettanomyces strain. So no brewer's yeast was used in the production of this beer. After 5 months in the barrel, we pulled it out, put it in a stainless steel on roughly 120 pounds of Syrah grapes, 36 hours off the vine from Napa. I've got some really nice connections there. And we let it re-ferment on the fruit in stainless for another 4 months. And then we bottled it at the beginning of January, and it's finally ready to be produced.
Wow. So this beer's been going, this beer is being produced almost as long as you guys have been a brewery.
I mean, much longer than we've been open to the public, because we started making beer in March of last year. So we've been making beer here for a year. But given the nature of the types of beers we make, we couldn't open until August.
So your whole brewery is about barrel aging beers. How did you decide that this was the beer that you were going to age the longest as you first opened?
This is one of those beers where I've seen other breweries doing beer wine hybrids, and I was really intrigued by it. But I had no experience on how to do that. So this was just something that I had no plan for. It's going to be ready when I've never made a beer with wine yeast, so it's all these things. I didn't know if it was going to work out. I mean, a lot of the beers we make, they've existed up here and that's it. And it's like, hopefully this works, right? So we didn't have any plans for this. I was like, we'll release this as soon as we can. And so it just happened to be, it's taken this amount of time. Which is fun, but a lot of the stuff, as you mentioned, we focus on barrel aging. We're really like a yeast-driven brewery, but I also, I like to drink hoppy stuff, so we make some hazy IPAs as well.
I'll tell you what. Speaking of drinking, I'm
right?
a little thirsty.
I know we're breaking my rule.
We're
breaking my rule. Too much talking before drinking.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because the base beer is so dark, but when you really get it, when there's barely any left in your glass, you'll see the red color.
Yeah, there's a little almost purple. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, very dark, very crimson.
And it starts off to me in the nose and in the first sip
getting the grapes
as
on the
wine.
nose
Yep,
right away.
It's all wine aromas and wine flavors, and then it transitions through this really interesting sourness into a beer finish, nice malty finish.
Ooh, that is definitely tart.
Oh yeah,
that is weird.
I promise
like,
the second sip won't be quite as aggressive.
No, there's definitely some malt background though. I mean, once the sour passes over the palate, you can then get that English Porter malt.
Absolutely, that little bit of the caramel and kind of toasted malt character is still there, chocolatey.
Yeah, it's one of those beers that really, you take a trip with your tongue as this one kind of flows over all the different sensory ports. But wow, I gotta say that is really tasty and a fun little experiment.
It worked out, so we didn't have to put it down the drain. So that's a win for me.
It's not 11 months of work down the drain.
Exactly.
What made you choose the English Porter style? A lot of the wine hybrids I've seen are like Goldens and some Belgian style. Here you went definitely in a different direction.
We did. I wanted it to kind of look more like wine, but I also I wanted some of that decadence that a darker beer can offer with extended time in a barrel. Some of the chocolate and toffee. I wanted some of that because who doesn't like chocolate and red wine?
Right.
It's a great combo. And so we just wanted to see if we could leave some of that chocolatiness behind, and then have a whole ton of wine flavors on top of it. I think we nailed it.
I'd say you did.
Yeah, cheers.
Man.
Thank you very much.
All right, so VIP members can get this first on their release date.
Yep.
Will this be open to the general public?
This will. Yep, it'll be available for the general public to purchase and consume here. Obviously, it's hard to predict how many bottles we'll have for the public because the members kind of get first crack at it. But I think we are going to put limits on it for everybody, just so that more people can have an opportunity to buy it.
Awesome. So there will be a label on it by the day that you buy it, and that'll be coming up this week. And make sure to stay tuned for the Tap Takeover podcast. We're going to have a full episode with Kyle telling us all about this beer and all of his other fantastic beers. So join us and cheers.
All right, cheers again.
Thanks, guys.